I was really interested and curious about, the choice of, to set the film in Ireland. And so, I would like for you to tell us exactly all the reason behind.
So there is no adventurous story behind why we chose Ireland. Financially, it's very difficult for Lithuanians to make a co-production with UK. And I knew that I could not do a film in Scandinavia or in Germany because of the language barrier. And then we chose Ireland. But when we were shooting in Ireland, the Irish crew said, nobody will believe you shot this film in Ireland because there was no rain. It was like sunshine for 1 month, and they said probably people will think that you went somewhere to the Spanish islands and faked Dublin.
Yeah, it's true. I was really impressed by the incredible sunny weather. Plus, you were always next to the sea, so you always show the sea and the seaside or the rivers, and so it's really more like in the kind of a holiday mood than anything else.
I think it was the first summer since '69 that they had so much sun.
Yeah,
we were lucky.
Anyway, I really want to congratulate you because I think it's very difficult to focus a film on 3 women, on 3 generations, and so it's really impressive the result, the end result of this. So because it's true that the film is seen through the eye of the teenager, the young girl, but also you can see all the other generation, the mother, the grandmother, and so how was it difficult? How to write the screenplay, to direct the actors, and then of course we'll talk to you.
For me, I'm often asked why is the film portraying 3 women, and I often answer why not. And I mean, being myself a woman, it's just somehow natural, and I think family is like the theme, the topic that runs through what I do in my life. And I chose 3 different generations because I wanted to look and to analyze what is migration for 3 different ages of people. And from my research, from my own migrant experience, I realized that until you are young, it's very easy. You can be rooted out from one place and put to another and continue living. And then I was very interested in this middle generation, mother's generation that Gabija played. From my research, I realized these people usually are transferring others, sacrificing themselves. And then, of course, the granny, she could never migrate, and she's demented and she has lost it all but the love for her country. So that's how these generations came about.
Yeah, it's true. It's quite evident in the grandmother that whenever they sing a song, whenever they play something that reminds her of her country, then all of a sudden she comes alive. And if not, she's very passive. She's just completely inside of herself. So yeah, it's definitely true that each person, each generation lives in a different way. So what were the challenges, to represent the mother that is in a between stage, so she's not that young that she can transform herself immediately, and then and she's not really backward and inside the past. So.
Well, I just didn't know where to begin and what to emphasize. The challenges were, well, I think my challenges were, for me as a person, the same as for me as an actress. To be this mediator between the main character, the lead, and another lead, let's say, to be this medium, and to be this mother person, the middle generation person. It was quite a challenge how I could add to the story, and for me as an actress, it's better not to tell what I wanted to do and what I did. I just did what you saw, so it's better to perform, not to tell. So. Yeah, it was quite a challenge, and you just can see and judge how do I cope with my challenge. That is my answer.
Yeah, great performance, absolutely. Yeah. So tell us a bit more about the migration. Let's go back to that, because as a person, since I don't know that much about Lithuanians, what happened and when, did the whole situation came into action?
So I think migration was always there. People were migrating before Lithuania joined the EU, but in 2004 it was really massive. In one small town there was my grandparents' village, and in a year the village was empty, and because it was not a village, it's a very small town, but it was only several old people left. And in numbers, I'm afraid to lie, but I think it's around 1/5 or 1/6 of the population that really left. And now the migration is still going on, but the same numbers of people leave and the same numbers return. And like in my case, for me, that's also what I was interested to analyze in this film, is that migration is not only for the sake of money or a better life. It can be a form of escapism, like in Gabija's character. I mean, she was a musician, she was a pianist, and she did not go abroad for only a better life for her daughter. She was probably running away from something. And I think migration is like, a new chapter, a new chance in your life. And it's much easier to restart things when you leave everything behind and go to a new place. And I did it myself. I don't remember, I was maybe 25, I left for Berlin. And I lived there for 8 years until I couldn't take this feeling of being in the limbo, and I just felt dragged back. And I came back, and now again I'm thinking, where should I go? It's this constant search of better, of different, of escaping from certain things.
Yeah, that's definitely it's an interesting point of view, because when we hear the word migration, we usually think, they're just poor people, they don't know where to go, what to do. But in fact, there's so many different types of migration. And we know this in London, because in London it's, intellectual migration, just a development of your career, or, there's so many different ways. But it's true that it's a freedom, that, it's a choice that you make, that, to improve your life, whatever the reason or whatever, So
actually, last summer, not this summer, but like the summer before the last summer, I was in Greece on an island called Lesbos, and I was in the biggest refugee camp, and I think 95% of the people were from Afghanistan, and everybody was like piling up in the camp because Europe don't want people to enter, and they were all accused that they are economic migrants, like they are searching for a better life. And I was like, yeah, but what's the problem to search for a better life, And so I really like the idea of Slavoj Žižek, a popular philosopher. He says, like, this is the end of the nationalistic states, like these walls are gonna fall and we are all going to mix and live wherever we see it suitable for us.
That's all about cultural diversity, and especially in big cities, again, like London, Paris, New York, etc., where you really meet all kind of communities. When I started working with my festival, South Social Film Festival, we just I was drawn by the fact that all these different people live in London, and they managed to get along. They managed to find a place where to stay, a work to do, and they really integrate. I mean, not totally integrate, of course. We're not talking like erasing culture, but they keep their own specific differences, their own specific customs and culture inside a big city that has so many other communities together. So that's an interesting. When I first saw the first shot of the movie, I saw everybody was speaking in Lithuanian. I said, what's that? So I just wanted to. So there's like a really big, a large community in Ireland that comes from Lithuania.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So going back to you, so how was it? Just the relationship that you had with the daughter in the film, so with this young teenager. Were you teaching her, training her? She was. How was the relationship on set?
On set, you mean for me as an actress, not as a character? First of all, I want to say a couple of words in Lithuanian for Lithuanians, if they are in the audience. Labas vakaras visiems. Labai smagu, kad atėjot. Ačiū. And and our relationship was really nice. I mean, Barbora, the main actress, the lead actress, although she was a teenager, she's such a mature person. She was like a real professional, and Lina can say the same. I think about her. She was. We couldn't tell if she wasn't a professional, because she on the set she was like she knew what she has to do, and she worked all day long without any whining or anything. I mean, and our relationship was really nice. If she needed some answer or some explanation, she would ask us. But we were very, very comfortable with her.
Because that was her debut, right? The first film, she or no?
Yes and no. She had a small role in a film of another director, but I found her. And he stole her from me. But directing Barbora was very interesting. I remember one of the first rehearsals. There was Gabija and there was Barbora, who played Monica. And everybody is playing superb. It's great, but I see that something is wrong. And then I realized like what it means to work with actors and with non-actors, because Barbora in a way was a non-actor. And at some points I was very happy because she was not acting but living through the experience. But at times in different scenes, she was so stressed and she was so nervous and she was so agitated that it is really like, as a person I was a bit afraid, and I kind of told her several times like, this is just a film. And also Barbora is a very interesting mix of talent and in confidence. Like, she's super talented, but she's very unconfident. And there are so many times when she cried, like, I don't know how to sing. The way I sing is really bad. I play bad.
Yeah, she was very critical about herself. And there were many times when she just criticized herself for what she was doing, although we thought that it was brilliant. So yeah, she was very, very critical.
Well, that's probably come from a young age because she didn't act that much, probably. But she's really superb in the film. She's very. I mean, you can believe her.
Yes.
She
and
really
she's
identifies.
Very sensitive. You can see that, and she communicates. She's a very good partner. She's just in the now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have much to learn from her.
Great. So one question about the ending, because the ending, it's all of a sudden, it's very dramatic. In a way, it's very dramatic. In another way, it's like, the whole film kind of goes into that direction, in the sense that it's the past that goes away. It's the all this, this souvenir and all the a life spent abroad, etc. So. Can you explain to us a little bit more?
Oftentimes people ask me, why is the ending so downbeat? And I often say that for me it is pretty upbeat, because, like, being very realistic, for the grandmother, she returns to her country, she returns to her Lithuania. And for the girl, for Monica, I think it's very perverse, but it's the first act of kindness that she does throughout the film, because in the beginning she's super selfish and she's all about herself. I need the keyboard, I need the money, I need to go, I need the stars. And in the end, she looks into the eyes of the granny and she lets her go. And of course she will be in a lot of trouble and in a lot of guilt, and maybe it was the worst decision she made in her life, but it's something about doing something for the other person, not for herself. So for me, that's how this film becomes a coming-of-age story. From a, I don't know what the word, but from a kid who is all about herself, she becomes into a mature person, and finally she's also about the others. And not to sound so sad, I want to share a joke of my father. He watched the film and he said, "The castle too, Granny comes with me late at the port."
That's a very good one. So, yeah. No, it's true. I mean, Barbara definitely. She's always about herself. So it's this very young generation, which everything revolves around what they do, what they want to do, and what's next. Basically, she's really she's not considering at all her mother, her grandmother. I mean, she's like pretending, faking a kidnapping, and all that stuff. But at the end, yeah, it's true that she it's kind of a rescue for all her bad intention of the the rest of the film, because all of a sudden she realized that she can do something for her grandmother that eventually she doesn't want to stay in that place. So.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to ask a question about the cinematic language, and I just was wondering, because I never asked this question, I think, of any younger directors or actors in Lithuania, but I was just always wondering, how are you putting yourself within the tradition of Lithuanian cinema? I mean, is there such a thing, you think, or it's not? And do you think that in recent years, because I think it was so much production, and it's so much also co-production. So even when I'm discussing Lithuanian or Baltic cinema or cinema from the region here in London, it's I have my opinions, but it's very interesting how cinema people themselves feel that. Is there such a tradition, or are you taking something from it, or you think that the younger generation, or you personally, you are doing something else?
It's a very interesting question, and actually in Lithuania, in actually the Museum of Cinema and Theater, is it the Cinema Theater Museum? There was a big exhibition on the 30 years of Lithuanian cinema, and I was part of that. My film was part of that exhibition, and looking at the exhibition, I realized that we are a young democracy and we are a young cinema school. I mean, our school of cinema is young and everybody is searching. And I could not find the thread that links all the creators together. And now with winning, Bareikyte winning Horizonte in Venice Film Festival. And I really see that there are new topics, new approaches, new attitudes towards, life. I think what's maybe common for most of I think before we used to look at ourselves, because it was after 90s, after all the perestroika, and everything was very sensitive. Who are we? We were very looking at our inside, and now I think the gaze becomes more broad. We start to look outside to the refugee camps, to the existentialist, say, philosophical topics, to our history, we revisit the history. But it's, I think, a very interesting moment now, because there are more and more filmmakers. Every year there are shorts going to Cannes, going to Venice, and there are, I think, maybe around 10 feature films done per year in Lithuania, and they're all very different. And I think maybe after another 20 years we will look back and we will see okay, this is the new Lithuanian wave. But I think it will be very difficult to put everything under one label, because it's really everybody is different, and that's somehow great.
I would add to it that I think Lithuanian cinema has some distinctive signs, as it's quite slow telling the story. And it has this. It really differs from, I don't know, from, let's see, maybe it's in general it's a sign, it's a character of all Baltic films, but it is, and it had this distinctive side of it. Even in Soviet times, Lithuanian films were Lithuanian film industry. It wasn't as such, but Lithuanian actors and Lithuanian directors, they were quite known at that time, and because we have something different from anybody else, and that something different is I would put it it was a bit like slow, a bit like foggy. You could put it like that. It was like more like for people to sense something, not to tell much. For God forbid, because let it be more. Let it for everybody to understand, not tell all the story. So I think this is the sign of Lithuanian film industry.
Hi, I'm the chair of the Lithuanian community in the UK, and we were just discussing. I know Lina already told that she had loads of research stories and stuff like that, but Gabija actually did amazing plays. So we wanted to ask if she had any experience or how she worked out to play such a real performance, because it wasn't a reflection, it wasn't a mirror, it was a real.
Thank you, it's very precious. Well, I had a teenage daughter, so I lived through it. And that was my experience. I have my mother, I have my grandmother, who we were taking care of for many years. So I had, as a woman, I had this experience. And that was my base from which that was my source for this character, the main source.
And what about immigration? Because the story showed here, I know it's Lina's, of course, but the story showed here, we have many stories like this, and it was a very, very, very real. But we were just asking if you had any experience before.
No, I hadn't. No, I didn't emigrate anywhere. So I still live in Lithuania. But, well, I watched this very nice program we had, Immigrant, called, about immigrants. And it's really very nice for me, very interesting for me to watch it, because there are so many different stories. What's amazing that every story is so different. And what I understood, but they all had one common thing, that everybody was, I mean, I didn't watch all the programs, but in general, people were talking about how they miss their country and how they didn't adapt to this new country so much, but they are most of all the economic immigrants. So I know this feeling. I mean, everybody of us, we know this feeling when we are somewhere out of our comfort zone, and it challenges in us some absolutely different traits of character. Suddenly we know ourselves, we see ourselves in a different light. And I knew this feeling, being out of my comfort zone. Even when I come to a different country, it's a different experience. I mean, it's not the same as when I am in my own country and I'm safe and I know everything and everybody's talking my language. So that was my source for the character as well.
Thank you. But I want to add, I think Gabi is a kind of actress who can play anything. I mean, she could play an alien and you would believe it. I mean, I'm really sure. But also we were always saying that migration is the backdrop, if there is such a word, and it's more about the relationship and the stakes that she has. She has the daughter to take care of, she has the mother, like what to do with her, and she has this past, that musical past, musician's past, that she probably did not feel fulfilled, or maybe she was pushed into being a pianist and she wants to escape. So I think these stakes are very common to a lot of people, and it was set in Ireland, but it was not the main, you know, like condition or, yeah. So
yeah, yeah. The same for me. Immigration wasn't the main part of the character, the main story. The most important thing was our relationship. So that's where I was concentrating.
In that sense, I feel that this film is definitely very universal. I mean, it could be really set everywhere else, you know. Then it's specific because, you know, it represents a mentality and a culture, but at the same time, it is appealing to everybody. I mean, to a larger audience, that it's not definitely only Lithuanian or Irish or else. Have we got any other questions? Yeah.
Hello. Thank you. I enjoyed it. As you mentioned, I enjoyed it a lot on the character drama basis. But as a broader narrative, do you think that it reinforces this stereotype of Eastern immigrant who comes in and has this low-skilled job, and I'm an Eastern immigrant as well, Eastern European immigrant. And because like the Monica, why she didn't look up online the name of the gentleman who invited her or the menu. So it comes off as again, on a character level, or as a character drama, I think it's amazing and it's really deep and multifaceted and all of that. But I think it reinforces the stereotype that the Western Europe has about Eastern Europe and Eastern European migrants. And I just wanted to see how, do I read it too literally? Do you agree with that, or do I read it, as a, do I go in a way that you didn't intend it to go?
Actually, thank you for the question. Actually, I intended to go because I think in cinema we usually portray the stories, like the amazing stories, the unexpected stories, and like I could not say majority, but a lot of people who had exactly those stories, like you have university education, you come, you have to work, I don't know, in a factory or do the cleaning jobs, and I mean, I know so many migrants and everybody had to go through it, and it's just the way it was, and I never had this Westerners look towards Lithuanians, but actually everything in the film except the kidnap comes from the bits and pieces of the true stories. And for me, I wanted to make a film not about the special migrant who had it different from everybody else, but I wanted to make a kind of a tribute for those who had it like many others, like university degree, a pretty good job, maybe you lose the job, you have to go, you work in the factory for the sake of your kids, and it's, maybe you could call it even a bit banal, but I think it's a story of so and so many people, of Lithuanians, Latvians, Estonians. And maybe what makes Gabija's character a bit different is that, I don't know, she's a musician who was not probably starving just in Lithuania, and that's why she left, but she wanted to leave because she wanted to escape from something.
Can I just add a couple of words? You don't have to emigrate. For instance, I'm a performer. I'm an actress. And when COVID started, when pandemic started, I just all my jobs were stopped. They just stopped. So many of my colleagues who are wonderful actors, who won awards, and they didn't work in some state theater, let's say, where they have salaries every month. They had to come up with something to live, to pay the bills. So you don't need to emigrate, but there are some circumstances in life, and we are actors and we went to perform, but we just had to do something just to pay our bills. So it's different situations in life.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's definitely more like a psychological drama, played among the family that represent other type of problems and issues more than a film specifically about how you find a job and what you do when you are in a foreign country. So yeah, that's definitely. We have time for another question. Is there anybody?
What was the decision process when writing to choose the music that she was going to play at the end of the film?
It was a very long way for me. Actually, in the beginning, I had Lana Del Rey song, and it was a really different style, maybe, of the film. And then I bought the LP of Leonard Cohen, and I was just playing and playing because I like to just play all over again the same and the same. And I realized that the lyrics in Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah is a bit what all these three women go through. You know, it was like a match for me. And I remember Barbora, the girl who played Monica, she was like, yeah, but it's sentimental, we had sang it, everybody sings it, and it's, you know, we should forget the song, but for me it was something very truthful, I don't know, and I think she made a perfect performance of that song at the piano.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a great fit.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think now we're finished. I don't see anybody else. So I really would like to thank with a big, big round of applause both Gabija and Lina.